Sometimes I look at my hands and I do not recognize them. They are spotted now, the skin like parchment, trembling as I reach for my tea. But in the dreams they are steady. They are thick with grease and scarred by metal, strong enough to bend steel, yet gentle enough to thread a loom without snapping the fiber. I think it was January when we reached the odor, though my memory plays tricks on me these days. The dampness in my joints tells me it was winter, a winter that bit through the wool of my uniform and settled deep in the marrow. The sky was not a color but a weight, a low, oppressive slab of gray slate pressing us into the mud. We were digging in, waiting for the ice to thicken or the artillery to stop. I cannot recall which. The trench smelled of wet wool, unwashed bodies, and that peculiar, metallic scent of the river mixing with the exhaust of the T-34s idling in the rear. It was a smell that coated the back of the throat. I scraped the clay from my fingernails with a bayonet, trying to find the skin beneath. It was a futile task. The earth of the front line stains you permanently. My mind, seeking escape, drifted back to Lodz. Not the ruined Lodz of the occupation, but the city before. I was back on the floor of the Schabler factory. Can you imagine the noise? It was a symphony of industry. The rhythmic clatter of the looms, the hiss of steam, the hum of the drive belts overhead. It was music to me. I was 23, but I knew the soul of those machines better than I knew my own mother. I could diagnose a misaligned gear by the vibration in the floorboards. I could feel the heat of a failing bearing from 3 paces away. My hands were always black with oil then, but it was honest dirt. It was the dirt of creation. We were making things, cloth to clothe people. We were building a future. In the trench, the dirt was different. It was the soil of graves. Peter, the whisper was sharp. Panicaged, it pulled me from the warm hum of the factory back to the freezing slit in the earth. It was Jurek. He was barely 18, a farm boy from outside Warsaw who held his rifle as if it were a venomous snake. His eyes were wide, white rims and a face smeared with soot. It stuck, he hissed, shoving the Mosin Nagant toward me. The bolt, it won't cycle. I took the weapon. The wood was slick with condensation. My hands moved before my mind did. This was the curse and the blessing. I didn't see a weapon of war. I saw a mechanism, a series of springs, levers, and machined steel that followed the laws of physics. Physics did not care about politics or hatred. Physics just was. I cycled the bolt. Hard stop. Metal grinding on metal. You let mud get into the receiver, I said, my voice sounding calm though my stomach churned. This was the fear that lived in my gut, a cold stone that never dissolved. If I fixed this, Jurek lived to shoot. If I failed, or if I left a grain of sand in the extractor. Jurek died when the Germans came over the berm. It was too much power for a man who used to just fix looms. A broken loom meant a wasted bolt of cloth. A broken rifle meant a mother in Warsaw got a telegram. I stripped the bolt, my fingers numb but precise. I could feel the grit against the polished steel. I wiped it with a rag that was arguably dirtier than the gun, but it had oil on it. I used the tip of my pinky to clear the locking lug recesses. It had to be perfect. In the factory, good enough got you fired. Here, good enough got you buried. I reassembled it. The click of the bolt sliding home was smooth, a solid, mechanical affirmation of order in a chaotic world. I handed it back. Jurek looked at me like I was a wizard. I wasn't a wizard. I was a mechanic trying to fix a broken world with a screwdriver and a rag. Keep it out of the dirt. Jurek, I said, turning away so he wouldn't see my hands shaking. Not from cold, but from the weight of it. Every machine I touched out here was designed to kill. I was keeping the gears of death greased. The ground shuddered. Not artillery this time. Footsteps, heavy boots. Lieutenant Kowalski dropped into our section of the trench. He looked like a man carved from granite, but his eyes were tired. He didn't look at us. He looked at the river, at the dark line of trees on the other side. "Pack it up," he said. The volume of his voice was low, but it cut through the wind. "The artillery barrage starts in 20 minutes. We cross tonight." He turned to look at me then. Noah, get your cutters ready. They say the roads are sown with iron potatoes all the way to the capital. To Berlin, Jurek asked, his voice cracking. To Berlin, Kowalski confirmed. The final push. I looked down at my hands again. They were caked in mud, gripping the cold wood of my own rifle. They felt detached, like tools hanging on a workbench wall. These hands had built engines. They had woven cotton. Now they were expected to dismantle the defenses of the Reich. The absurdity of it made me want to laugh, but the air was too cold for laughter. It froze in my throat. I wasn't a soldier. I was a factory worker who had run out of machines to build. Twang, the man who built this, wants you to follow the rules. He wants you to cut the red. He relies on your training. Snip, I see you. Clegg, clegg, clegg. It wasn't the sound of industry to me anymore. It was the sound of a firing pin dropping. It was the sound of the sniper's bullet hitting the brick. I dropped the wrench. It hit the concrete floor with a clang that made me jump out of my skin. I walked out. I left the factory, the pension, the life I had planned since I was a boy. I never touched a machine again. I couldn't. The trust was gone. I had seen how easily the mechanics of the world could be turned against us. I had seen the green wire and the red wire, and I knew that every machine is just a bomb waiting for the wrong hand. I became a gardener. I work with soil now. Roads, things that grow slow and quiet, things that don't click. I am an old man now. My hands are spotted with liver age, and the tremor that started in Berlin never really left. I sit at my table and I look at them. We went to Berlin for revenge. We told ourselves that we would burn it all down, that we would scour the earth. And we did. We broke their swastikas and we smashed their walls. But in that street, under the eyes of those painted animals, I learned that revenge is a fool's errand. You don't win a war by destroying the enemy. You win by saving the man next to you. That is the only victory that lets you sleep at night. I didn't kill a single German that day in the hospital street. I didn't fire my rifle. I just cut a wire. And because of that, 20 men came home. 20 men had sons. 20 men rebuilt their houses. That is my harvest. The factories are loud, and the world is full of machines that move faster than we can think. But I remember the silence after the cut. That is what I carry. This memory is a shard of glass I carry. Help me pull it out. Subscribe to keep this history alive.